analysis. I'm going to limit it to stuff we can do without analysis. So things like a low-pass filter. We could do a distortion one. That could be cool. Distortion. And okay. I just remembered. Yeah. We were earlier discussing the possibility of having another class hierarchy for these filters, I guess. So an effect is a combination of several filters, and that kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, and then a filter is just a more simple, it's just a very simple, well, it's more like a unit generator, where it just does one thing. Processes the sound, spits it out. It doesn't do any of this graphical, even audio callback stuff. It just processes a block and saves the state necessary to process the next block. Now that will be useful if we have several effects that share these subcomponents. It's good to spend a little time now thinking about this, because making a system like that could end up just being a premature optimization. And if we can avoid the root of all evil, it's probably a good idea. So the types of effects I would like to implement. Now I think this is just going to have a few effects. Yeah. So, and I do think a lot of them are going to share some subcomponents. I'm thinking right now, the effects that make sense to a user who won't know anything about audio. So you would never want to write something like low pass effect on the screen and have a picture of a unit generator of a wave like this that cuts off at the high end, because the user won't understand that. You'll need stuff like bunny rabbit, demon, dragon, elf, and we're talking about voice conversion here. As you can get technical with some things now, because everybody knows about certain effects like auto-tune. That's actually probably the trademark term, but the effect itself is simple enough that I'm sure you cannot. We could implement that here using some pitch detection and pitch shifting. That's going to be a key component for a lot of these, probably. But I realize now that we can write just a few effects and refactor them into these classes later. We might have more insight on the structure of how we want to organize those subcomponents later. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and do a low-pass filter right now. New class means we go into Xcode. So hello Xcode. Please give me a, do I just want to call it low pass filter? I think I do. It'd be cool if we could actually have a useful effect here. I'm trying to think of, what kind of effect could we do that that uses these simple ones. I'm going to try to stay away from the guitar-based like effect pedal name systems, which are more like the actual signal processing stuff, like delay, distortion. So let's think of a name for an effect. Alright, I got one. How about we do one that uses some delay, and we call it... We can use both delay and phase, and we can call it like I want to say some shiny, sparkly. Yeah, let's call it. This kind of feels like a sin to be thinking about these. Well, this is like a job for marketing, right? And everything they do is a sin, so I guess that's where my feelings come from. And I don't mean that seriously. There are lots of great people in marketing. Probably. Yeah, and we can change the class name later. These are not set in stone. Sparkle effect, how's that? And the type is filter effect. Effect entity. Yeah. Yeah, put it in classes and do it. First thing we do is change this M to an MM. Interesting that even though I specified the superclass, it doesn't do anything about it. Yeah. Let me make this a little nicer looking. I don't know why my computer doesn't, why Skype cannot maintain a normal webcam view. It goes into this weird distorted thing. But we don't have to worry about that because we're doing cooler stuff. Okay, so we don't even have to think because we already have the definition for a nothing effect. Yeah. And I think we can actually look in effect entity dot effect entity dot m. Yeah. And realize that we just have to re-implement process sound internal. Okay, so we will need the H file later because we'll have to add things for state. So I'm going to leave that open in the upper left. Okay. Yeah. And we'll probably need the init with whatever. We'll need this guy. Okay. Got a semicolon. Yeah, and the reason we'll need the constructor is because of the state variables we're going to want to do something with. And I'm going to imagine if we're using delay, we probably will have buffers. Yeah, which are going to require some memory management. Yeah, so it looks like we don't need any of that stuff. Good for us. Alright, so what do you want to do? First let's make sure our stuff works and have a low pass filter, because then we don't have to do anything. We don't need any, we need one sample of memory, and we can just hack that here. Last out equals 0. So I'm not going to explain a low pass filter, but it's a very simple filter and you probably understand it. And it'll look like this. I can't remember everything about the buffer, so I'll have to look up the class. I believe that is in Filter Audio Mixer. Okay, it has num frames. And yeah, this isn't the best naming scheme, but okay, so we don't even need to do that. We can just do there's two, right? There's left and right. So we do this. And this is just temporary. We're going to probably rewrite this soon and just keep a few components. You do star yeah. And we're not going to worry about which, if it's one to the left or one to the right. Basically with low pass, all we have to do is we have two samples next to each other and we average them and we put into one of them, probably the one in front. It's going to be output soon. But we're actually going to go in back. It doesn't really matter. Does it? Take two samples, you put in the one in front. Yeah, you do that because you don't want a cascading effect, which will do something much different. Take two buffers, put them on the front. So how do you start something like that? This is a little messy. Yeah, I'm not going to use, we could still use this ++ notation, but it's not good. It'll just make confusing code. Because then you have to worry what happens at the end of the line, what happens at the beginning of the line, using the same thing you're incrementing, and it's messy. So we just do this, and this is totally reasonable. I times 2 equals the same guy plus the same guy plus 2 divided by 2.